there is a lot of confidence coming from former Michigan players when it comes to the new coaching staff. It's kind of weird because there still is just not a lot of buzz like you see kind of elsewhere. You see Kalen DeBoer doing big things at Alabama and a lot of hype. Jedd Fisch getting a lot of hype at Washington. Not a lot of hype for Sherrone Moore in Ann Arbor. And also, it's a very sad day for all Michigan fans. We will memorialize Craig Roh on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello, I want to say happy Wednesday, but at the same time, it is a morose Wednesday due to the loss of Craig Roh. We'll discuss his passing and all of that in segment 3. Not to push it back, but I don't have a lot to necessarily kind of add to the conversation. So we are going to have that in segment 3. But before we get to that and talk about a position group that I think really looks like it could be very, very good, and even though it's not one that's going to be talked about as much, the defensive line, I do want to discuss what some of these former players are saying about the new coaching staff. Now, they're not getting into Wink Martindale. They're not getting into all of those types, right? The ones that haven't been announced yet. But they are talking about Chiron Moore, and they are talking about Justin Tress. And I think that there's a lot to really like about what they're saying, and it's going to kind of, I think, hype you up a little bit. So let's start with Braden McGregor. Now, both Braden McGregor, Mike Barrett, both at the Combine, getting asked questions and stuff. I'm obviously not at the Combine, but I have some of these quotes here. So asked about Chiron Moore being hired. Actually, before we go to Chiron Moore, let's go to Justin Tress, because I want to combine the Chiron Moore thing. We don't need to go chronological in orders of quotes here. So we saw a lot of these guys talking about how important Ben Herbert is, likely from Chargers people who are there wanting to know, like, why is this guy so important? Why should we be just super psyched? So you can see just paragraph after paragraph of these defensive guys talking about Ben Herbert. But I really like what you see here from Braden McGregor on Justin Tress. So let's get into that first. First of all, I'm so happy for Coach Tress. When I got there, he was kind of the younger guy. I think he was like third in line. So it's kind of cool to see. Okay, I went through 4 years. Coach Herb went to the Chargers. Coach Roh, he went to Purdue. That's Kiro Small. And now Coach Tress gets the job. It's just so exciting to see what he does, because he was that type of guy. He was like Coach Herb. And then he would have an off switch to be actually able to hang out with you, kind of understand that. So I'm excited to see what he does. I know he's got these turn-up Saturdays going on right now where the boys are getting lit in the weight room, shirts off, water bottles squirting. And so I'm excited when I go back to be able to go in there and be able to see the new staff and what he's doing. I think that that's the right move for the moment. While it would be great to have the continuity of actually having Coach Herb back and, retained, and you just move forward that way, that's not the reality of the situation. So I think the next best thing is to have a young guy who has learned from him since 2018, watched him, it can go in and emulate him where he needs to, but then also be able to connect with the guys, right? That is, I think, really important as well, especially on a staff like what we see right now, where it's no longer the Jim Harbaugh show. It's a first-year head coach. I think it's a really, really positive thing to say, like, okay, he's going to be able to bring the same vibe. He's going to be able to bring the same intensity. He's going to be able to bring a lot of those same attributes that Ben Herbert was able to bring. But he's going to be able to really connect with guys in a way that maybe Ben Herbert couldn't. And considering that the strength and conditioning coaches are the ones that are seen a heck of a lot more than position coaches or even the head coach, I think that is absolutely good news to kind of hear like that type of badge of honor, I guess. I don't know what the right word to say there. Now, granted, I mean, it's not like he's going to come out and be like, oh, man, guy's a total bum. I don't think that he does anything right. He's the guy that I looked at and said, not great. But, I mean, you could just say a couple sentences and that be it. And that kind of makes me feel like he really does like him. So I think that is a very positive development. But when it comes to Chiron Moore, He also said, I think they did a great job of hiring Coach Moore. I think that was the number one thing to make sure we get the right guy. The whole locker room, everybody loves Coach Moore. So now that they got him, I think it's just up from here. They have all the tools on defense. The offense is reloaded. A lot of young guys have been itching to get their chance. So this year, I think we're still on the up and coming. And he clearly doesn't mean like up and coming, like, oh, I think he means like it's still ascending. I mean, even at the top of college football last year, I think that they have a good opportunity this year, too. I don't disagree. Now, I mean, on paper, it is what it is. But I also don't disagree that this is really still a very good shot for this Michigan team to be able to do something, to do some damage, to get to the playoff and then go from there. I think that is really, really good. We'll get to kind of more about that kind of mentality here in a moment, but with Mike Barrett, what he had to say about Sherrone Moore. So asked about Sherrone Moore, he said he's going to give it everything he has, man. He's probably more than anybody in the country, I think. I don't know more than what, but that's what the audio said when I typed it. Coach Moore, I think a lot of people really underestimate him because they really don't know him as much of a coach, right? Now, Jim Harbaugh is a celebrity coach. Everyone knew before he even arrived in Ann Arbor exactly what he was all about, right? But now I feel like that's probably the best hire that they could have made. Honestly, when I heard that, I was in there jumping around. I was in there talking with him. But yeah, Coach Moore, he's a guy that's going to get everybody fired up regardless of offense, defense, regardless of the position. He's going to get everybody, when it's time to lock in, he's going to get them locked in. He knows the game plan. He's going to get the guys ready to execute the game plan. And yeah, I'm excited to see what he's going to do. And it seems like he was a big driver for what the game plans were over the last couple of years. So I think that's a really good thing, right? To be able to have a guy like Chiron Moore continuing to have that consistency, right? I know the consistency of Jim Harbaugh, the defensive staff, that's gone. But when it comes to the overarching game plan, I feel like he was really involved in that, as it was. As far as, and I couldn't really hear the question, because again, I'm not in Indianapolis, in case you can tell, about what, it seems like it was something about what does Michigan need to do to keep things going? Just keeping the culture. I feel like over the years that I was there, it was the culture that was built, and just really being able to just lock into that, not really get deterred by everything that's going on, just kind of stay on that one track mind that we always talked about, and just being able to focus on the job at hand and just going out there and kicking expletive deleted, as I put, you know what word it is, every week to week. So yeah, it's about just keeping that in front of mind, not letting everything outside noise, really getting in and just continue to grind. They know the kind of work it takes, what kind of work it takes on a day-to-day basis, and just continuing to do that. That all speaks to, okay, you've got a couple different guys saying this is the right guy. Again, I know they're not going to say, yeah, terrible hire, having Chiron Moore, worst thing that could have happened. But these are defensive guys raving about Chiron Moore, who was on the opposite side of the ball most of the time. And with the culture thing, I think that is one of those elements that we've talked about a lot, but I think it still gets underrated. And if the culture has been set, it's not going to necessarily get reset with these 18, 20 guys leaving. Because now the standard has been set, and all the people who come in, the next man up, they know what the standard is, right? It's like I talk about going from Chris Perry to Mike Hart. I've talked about that a lot on this show. That is the type of thing that I'm continuing to speak of here. So I really like what is going on there. Let's talk about the edge rushers, because Braden McGregor discussed the edges as well, and so did Jalen Harrell, and I like some of the things that they had to say. So we're going to hear what they had to say as far as me reading the quotes, and then I will give you my reaction to all of that, and we will do that here in just one moment. But before we do, listen, it might be no football for some time, but there are a lot of great big events that are coming through, whether they're concerts, whether they're theater. Certainly we're getting into concert season. That's coming up here very shortly. And don't be left out in the dust. The way that you can keep yourself from being so is through Gametime. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. And right now, all users can get $100 off when they buy a big game ticket with the code VEGAS100 with killer last-minute deals. All-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. So there have just been so many opportunities that I've had that I wish that I could have gone back and used Gametime. Thinking about those overpriced Justin Bieber floor seats where I know there's going to be some of you that sit there and say, what, you went to Justin Bieber? Guess who also went? Jim Harbaugh. He asked me if I had the Bieber fever too, huh? Literally, that happened. But after looking at all the opportunities they have, we went on together about a month ago and looked up Lions playoff tickets, and they were cheaper than anywhere else. Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase, and you can see the view from your seat before you buy it, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. I would have really liked that before I went on a date in 2006 to go see Wicked at the Masonic Temple Theater with a big pillar in front of my face. That sucked. All-in prices show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. Buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Right now, all Gametime users get $100 off of a big game ticket with code VEGAS100. Terms apply. Just download the Gametime app. Use the code VEGAS100 for $100 off of a big game ticket. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets. Lowest price. Guaranteed. All right, so we heard from a linebacker. We heard from a defensive lineman. We're not going to talk about linebackers, but we are going to talk about the defensive line. And we're not even going to talk about all of the defensive line. We know who the tackles are, and we feel pretty good about that. At least that trio, right? Of Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, Rayshon Benny. Again, assuming tampering, transfer portal, all that stuff doesn't hurt the team. Those are obviously the big rumors that are always going around. I still think that they're going to stick around regardless. They are currently, for now, transfer portal is closed until spring ball. I think that they will, I don't think they're going to be wooed by something else because, again, the culture. That's the thing that when I see a lot of the fear mongering going on out there, when it comes to the transfer portal and all of these things, yes, there are going to be some that are wooed by different things. Playing time, could be money, could be some other entirely different thing, right? Teams are getting really creative in the new name, image, and likeness era. But I really do think that culture is going to keep the team together in a way that maybe other teams aren't, right? You see Alabama, you see Washington with the mass exodi. And I think that that happened because the culture isn't quite what it is in Ann Arbor at the moment. And that says a lot for the future of this team. And with that in mind, it is next man up time, right? Again, the going back to who's that next gonna be. I talk about Chris Perry to Mike Hart, but it was a multi-year deal where you knew that those next pass rushers were going to be really, really good. I mean, from even guys like the now sadly departed Craig Roh forward. I can't remember who was the next after that. It was like Jake Ryan. Right? So, I mean, it was like, you know, guys like, I know Brennan Byer wasn't exactly anyone was writing home about, but like Brennan Byer and Craig Roh to Jake Ryan to Chris Wormley, Taco Charlton, Rashawn Gary, Chase Winovich, Josh Uche, Kwity Paye, Aiden Hutchinson, David Ajabo. It just like went on, right? And now you've got a couple other, they might not be the high end first round guys like some of the previous, but it continues on with Jalen Harrell and Braden McGregor, right? Like the guys that weren't necessarily setting the world on fire are still going to be NFL draft picks. That's where we're at with that. So you hope that the next crop continues at least on that trajectory. They get the job done. The interior rush has been phenomenal. So you add a little bit more of that exterior rush and they'll be pretty good. So I want to get to some of the things that were said here. So Braden McGregor, we have another deep edge rushing crew right now. You've got the sophomore. I couldn't understand this. It's basically you got the sophomores, I don't know what he was talking about there, but got all these guys. Then you got Keyshawn Bennett, TJ Guy. They're going to take big steps this year. And then Josiah Stewart and Derek Moore. I mean, they've been working their butts off. They've been there, especially Derek. I've seen him since freshman year. He's a junior now. Josiah came in and he just hit the ground running since the day he came in. So really excited for them. I think they have all different personalities, different traits on the field. So again, it's going to be another year, another versatility year of Derek. He's a bigger body. Josiah is a little bit smaller. TJ is athletic. Keyshawn Bennett is big. And then they got Cam Grant, Amer Kumba. It's a deep, deep room. So you just kind of expect going in the offseason, this spring ball is going to be a big competition. It's going to be a chance to reset yourself, start over, especially for guys that might not have played as much as they wanted to. Go in there and just have a fresh start. So obviously you got the two that were on the field for that final play against Alabama. I think that bodes very well for those guys to be starters. TJ Guy is a guy that's been kind of rotating in since 2021. And you hope that, like him, I've been waiting for Keyshawn Bennett to really take that big step forward. So I'm excited about his potential. And obviously they like throwing Cam Grant in there every now and again, whenever they could, more so late in games. But he's a guy that they really, really, really love. So I am excited about him. The name that didn't get mentioned here was like, wait a second. This is like, I'm alarmed. Big red flags kind of shot off. And then I went to the Jalen Harrell audio and then felt a lot better. So he continued on and then he added the name that I wanted to hear. You guys know about Josiah and Derek, TJ Guy. TJ's got great traits. He's athletic. He can move and whatnot. So I feel like he's going to put it all together this year. And then he says, and also Eno Etta. He's very big, kind of reminds me of Kwity Paye a little bit. Very explosive, very big, powerful and whatnot. So I feel like he's going to have a great spring. And like I said, it's going to propel him to get into the rotation. That is the name that I wanted to hear because it felt like he really had an opportunity last year. But again, the depth just did not allow that. So that is, again, Michigan being in a prime position because guys that once upon a time, like 4 years ago, you knew that he probably would have been in the rotation even with some really strong players out there, right? 2020 obviously was the rotation of initially Kwity and Aiden. Then they both got hurt. And then you started seeing Taylor Upshaw, Mike Morris. So I think that in a previous era, you look at like 2015 or 16, he would have been a guy that would have been working his way in every now and again. So I am excited about the possibility of a player like him stepping up. But I do really want to see the TJ guys, the Keyshawn Bennett's, the guys who have stuck around, really take that opportunity. I think that if they don't get it in spring, those are the guys that you could potentially lose because it's like alarm bells are going off, right? Like this is your last chance to really do it. Now they could stick around another year because of the world. Yeah, I believe there's some COVID eligibility maybe with TJ. Maybe no, I can't remember. I think he's a 2021 guy. I think he was a Don Brown guy, so he might have been a 2020 guy. But but obviously with Keyshawn, he was a 2021 guy for sure. So yeah. So I really want to see what happens with those types of players and how they're able to kind of step up. But Etta really tantalizes me a bit. Cam Brant tantalizes me a bit. With Amer Kumba, I hope that he can be a guy that could step in. He was a project, and he's one of the Brandon Collier specials from overseas, and this one from France. It just seems like a lot of them like do freakish, amazing things, and then we just don't see them. So I'm hoping, right? Like we talk about with Julius Welschoff, didn't really get much of a chance to see him just thrive. It seemed like he did in the Minnesota game in 2020, and then that was kind of it. So I'm hoping that like a guy like him, Manuel Beagle, some of these guys will start to really pan out because I think that they have that opportunity and that potential. You see these PPI recruits kind of going a bunch of different places, Alabama and elsewhere. So you just hope that a guy like Amer Kumba will finally kind of take it and run with it. So I'm hoping for that to be the case. But when it comes to just looking at the entirety of that position group, the entire defensive line, I mean, it feels really good right now. Is it going to be as top end as, some of these schools that are recruiting like absolute freaks? Maybe not, but at the same time, Michigan's done a really good job at identification and development. We just need to see the workout with some of these guys. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Craig Roh. Very, very sad news hitting the interwebs today that Craig Roh has passed away at the age of 33 and just at far too young, right? I just can't even imagine going through what he and his family have gone through. So we will talk about that in a moment. Before we do, get those buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. You can bet on all of your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same game parlays. It's a fun way to play. Exclusive props and more. Plus, you get paid instantly. That's the great thing, right? And it's just so easy. Bet $5. Pick a gimme. An obvious win. Get $150 to play with. It's absolutely fun. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right. Sad news out of Arizona. Former Michigan defensive end Craig Roh. He passed away on Monday, according to his wife, who posted to his Twitter account, due to stage 4 colon cancer. It was an illness in which he did not. He had not disclosed publicly. And it's just incredibly sad to find out that that's what was going on in his life. But they're being faithful, so that is good. I'm happy to hear that. But he was definitely a bright spot in a dark time for Michigan football. So it's sad that there's a dark spot in a bright time for Michigan football with his passing. And it's certainly it's always a sad moment when you see someone too young pass away. I do want to look up something real quick here, but according to Sherrone Moore, who tweeted out that he has the most starts under his belt, the all-time career leader in starts for Michigan, which is absolutely wild. And I feel really bad that I didn't respond to the last message I got from him. I didn't really know Craig. I didn't cover him at all, but he was really excited that he had opened up what he called D-Line University, and he was doing this all while on the full decline, right? Certainly being faithful that it would work out, but back on August 3rd, he announced D-Line University enrollment is now open, and he was sharing that he was trying to work this new venture out. The only thing that I did was retweet it, and didn't say like, hey, this is great or anything like that. And obviously looking back, I wish I had it, busy time with new season starting and all of that. And it's a good lesson to cherish, the people that you hold dear, whether it's the people close to you, whether it's the people who that you just admire from afar, like someone like Craig Roh, who, again, was just an absolute beast on the football field, had an opportunity in the NFL, the CFL, and then decided to kind of give back, right? Wrote a book on block destruction. Probably the first time I ever heard the term block destruction was from Craig Roh, and really advocated it even in his waning days, to try to elevate younger players who had dreams and hopes to be able to do what he was able to do one day. That is the type of person we should aspire to be. So, very saddened to hear about Craig's passing. My condolences to the Roh family, including Justin Roh, Blue by 90 and Valiant Management. That's his cousin. So, my condolences, because it is. And my prayers are with you. And I hope all of you join me in praying for their family, that they have the strength to continue to see each day in as positive a light as they possibly could. and go through the grieving process as it goes forward. So it sucks, man. We've lost a couple right here. I know a lot of people don't necessarily consider Ryan Mallett to be like a Wolverine because he was only around for 1 year. But I mean, he was a Band-Aid when everything could have fallen apart even more spectacularly with Chad Henney's injury. And it's sad to hear of him passing away around August last year. And it's sobering as someone who is older than both of them. Because listen, I feel very, very young. And I feel like a lot of you who watch and listen to this probably all feel the same way. And sports certainly helps make you feel young. And to see people younger than us go, or our age, or even maybe a little bit older, it's just a reminder that nothing is promised. So, pour one out for you, buddy. And I hope that everyone who you inspired through your actions are looking back today and just memorializing and eulogizing everything that you were able to accomplish, all of your dreams that were able to come true, and the dreams you helped come true as a result of your selfless work. So thank you, Craig Roh, for everything that you were able to do. And sorry, it's not a little more specific. I don't have like a favorite game. I've certainly watched every game he was in. That entire era is kind of a blur. The late Rich Rod, early Brady Hoke years. But nonetheless, he was certainly a player that I admired watching in that time period. But it's more than that. More than just the player thing. It's seeing the fraternity and the community. And it's great to see them all come together to mourn his passing. So, all right. Ending on a sad note, but that is what we are doing. So we will be back on Thursday. And I don't have anything else to say. It's hard after going through an emotional moment. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We will be back soon. Peace.